and welcome to GradCast, the official radio show and podcast of the Society of Graduate Students at Western University. I'm your host, Nikol Posnov.
And I'm also your host, Viki Tellios.
And we're here today with James Alexander. Hello, James.
How's it going? I'm your guest, James Alexander.
All right, James, why don't you tell us what program you're in and what your research is?
Okay, I'm in Masters of Geology, in my second year of that. Mostly focused on gold exploration, more so kind of, gold mineral paragenesis, which we could jump into. It's figuring out the relative timing of gold mineralization in the West Central Yukon Territory, where I've worked for the past 4 field seasons.
So James, how did you get into that field of work? It's very specific, and I'm not really sure what the trajectory is in terms of that career path.
Okay, well, I began my undergrad. My first year was in general arts, and then I switched into geology in second year. So by my 5th year, I attended PDAC conference. It's the Prospectors Developers Association of Canada. It's a big mining convention held every year in Toronto in early March. And there I knew I wanted to go to the Yukon, had an interest in working for the Geological Survey there. But I spoke with someone at Ground Truth Exploration at I think it was the student industry networking luncheon. So it's when you go and you make connections. First conference I'd been to, I've been told certain things, how to bring a bunch of cards and meet a bunch of people. I think I showed an interest in the science, and I sort of knew where I wanted to go. And it was Jody Gibson. I just asked him about himself and the work he's doing out there. And employers everyone likes to talk about their own things. So that's how you actually get to know someone, is tell them less about yourself and just have questions ready. We established a good relationship, and I actually started working out there after my 5th year. Actually, this was in my 4th year. So then I did my 5th year, did another season. And then after my 2nd season, we made a gold discovery in the Yukon. So that was in 2018. And at the end of that season, I was speaking to Rob Carpenter, who's an adjunct professor at Western. He was also the director of the company at the time. And he was giving me career advice, again, with the specialized field, you got to work here, and you got to work in a mine for 6 months, and you got to do your master's. He was sort of going on, and I kind of cut him off, and I said, could we do one on this recent discovery we made? He said, would you come to London? So I said, yep. My sister goes there, so that's even better. I did my undergrad at Queen's with my older sister, and I'm doing my master's in science here at Western. My younger sister Jade also goes here, so that was the brainchild. I did another season, log and core. So by the time I started my master's last year, I'd done 3 field seasons, and I'd collected my samples. That's my long-winded response to the genesis of why I'm here.
Let's go. Wait, what's the name of this company?
White Gold Corp is the junior mining company. Ground Truth Exploration was the contracting company that I work for. They do a lot of exploration work, sample collection to get your data, to, find your best friend elements with the gold. That's sort of the pathfinders is the term sort of we use. So a lot of what we do, soil sampling, we have a database of about 400,000 soil samples across about 1 million acres, 40 or so properties in the West Central Yukon, White Gold owned properties. And so, we essentially go out there and, use all types of, scientific methods, IP resistivity, digim, airborne sort of geophysics, soil sampling, drilling. But what we're essentially looking for is gold eventually. But a key thing there is locating those pathfinder elements. So the best friend elements, and actually figuring out which elements are best friend elements to gold. And that's where my thesis actually steps in, because that's your actual geochemistry. But we're also focused on the mineralogy. So I've been doing a lot of petrography, microprobe analysis, and synchrotron radiation, X-ray diffractive work. Those are a couple of terms. Essentially what it is I'm describing sort of what minerals we're seeing present with the gold, both qualitatively, as you would with petrography and sort of with your eyes, but also quantitatively with synchrotron X-ray diffraction, which we can jump into. It's pretty exciting, but yeah, that's where I kind of fall in.
And so just to clarify, so these best friend minerals, they're just minerals that are most likely to be found with this gold, right?
Yeah, so it can be specific to certain target areas, but you also want to look on a sort of more regional scale. So in certain areas, knowing maybe your rock type and your alteration, the type of system involved, maybe the structural controls. You also, if we have this crazy geochemical database, it'd be very interesting to know not just the geochemistry, but the mineralogy. So, our whole exploration strategy is looking for these best friend elements. So, gold found with silver, arsenic, lead, bismuth, tellurium, antimony. It all depends. It depends, on a local scale. But we can also, with that much data, look regionally. Like, is there large scale fluid flow? But we can also detail things locally. So it's just a more an advanced way to not just look at your best friend elements, but also the best friend minerals, which are just a conglomeration of those actual elements found with the gold. If that does that ring true?
Yep.
So thinking about those best friend elements and minerals, are there any trends associated with the type of minerals and elements that are associated with gold across regions, or specifically in the Yukon? Is it sort of translatable to other areas where gold might be found?
Absolutely. I mean, the vertigo itself, yeah, I also view it. So the vertigo target is my study area. I view it as a bit of a playground for this, because we are seeing, initially what sparked interest in doing work there, is we saw geochemical pathfinder associations with gold mineralization that was unlike, any known models, for instance. So, certain models thrown out there, if it's intrusion related gold, maybe you'll have bismuth, something like that. Got other ones, maybe if it's epithermal, you're going to have tellurides, some silver in there, and so on. Orogenic could have, well, then it starts to depend on the rock type. But what this could do is actually help, propose a model for, a different source, because the gold that we're seeing gold with bismuth, arsenic, tellurium, lead, and silver. I hope I didn't leave anyone out, but that's not typical of many gold deposits. It also tells us, okay, there's a good chance that there were multiple events, which is something that I'm definitely starting to see. But something like that, yeah, you evolve the literature, and that can translate on a district scale, regionally, and globally if you have a similar tectonic setting, right? But our understanding of these systems and our models used to describe them are still pretty rudimentary. So yeah, I think it's a huge benefit, even on a grander scale, with describing a mineralized system specific to one area, but with larger scale implications.
So why the Yukon? Like, what is that where most of the gold in Canada is, or why did you decide to go up there?
Well, I tree planted after my first year of university. That's when I decided to switch programs. I guessed pretty well in my economics final in first year, so I thought I'd major in that. But then I took a geology course in second year, and I'd always had a rock collection, fossils and everything, but I was never thinking of doing geology because, that involved science and math, which I wasn't terribly gifted at. But I took this course and I loved it, and I was already actually accidentally enrolled in the science calculus. Mind you, I hadn't. I thought it was in the economics calculus, but I was in the science one, and which was good. I still hadn't done my physics or my chemistry, but I was taking those, and economics was a good challenge, and as was calculus. But my geo courses, those were pretty fun, so I took a few more. And then I wrote my calc final at the end of my second year, and I finished that. I walked out, and I was already doing physics in the summer because I was starting this, you know, to translate into, you know, doing the prerequisites to get into geology. So finished my calc final, walked to the library. I think it was about 7 minutes between the two, and I signed up to redo calc over the summer. So yeah, I liked calc so much I did it twice. So that was my summer of second year, was calc and physics, and then third year I really got to, you know, take some geology courses. I took chemistry at the same time, but you know, after spending a summer doing that, it's something I'm not generally great at. Geology was more, you know, something I felt lucky to study. So yeah, there's always a lot of enthusiasm there. That hasn't gone away. But then I tree planted another year, and I met someone out tree planting who'd been to the Yukon, and he'd worked on the Yukon Geological Survey. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty awesome. And well, I'm studying this now, so I had the idea to go work for the survey guys. But I met Ground Truth and Jody at PDEC. Jody Gibson and I, it was too cool what they were doing out there. I mean, they were sending cameras down holes in the ground, and I don't fully, you know, yet understand, you know, sort of exploration and mining. I mean, I've taken a couple geology courses, and I know I want to go field map in the Yukon. But this company was doing some pretty innovative stuff, and I got to, you know, become a part of that, and just that's sort of how it developed into there. Speaking on the Yukon itself, why there? I mean, that's for me, but on a larger scale, I guess beyond myself, it's relatively underexplored. It is a far north region, so I mean, we're working on access. There's a resource gateway project. I think that's due for completion maybe in 2027. I don't want to use the wrong numbers. 10 years or something. It'll be done. But you know, once we have access, that'll help us actually, you know, start to explore and develop some of these far north regions. But it's very much grassroots. There's grassroots and there's brownfield exploration. The difference, brownfield is, you know, where an existing mine is, or proximal to an existing mine, a very well-known and established place where you can extract resources. Greenfields is more well-known. You know, you're going out there, and you know, the chances of finding something are far lower. But you know, Canada's got a lot of northern regions, still relatively underexplored and you know, not entirely understood. So I think there's huge gold potential in the Yukon itself, and it's placed in between Alaska and the dogleg of Alaska and BC, and you know, you got the Golden Triangle to the south. The Yukon's had a lot of you know, structural motion, and what we see is a lot of, you know, structurally related gold mineralization there. But that's yeah, that's why I invest Yukon.
So it sounds like you're quite well versed in the Yukon Territory, and seeing that you've been there quite a few times. What's your favorite part of being in the Yukon, or what's your favorite experience that you've had up there?
Oh, good question. Tranquility. No. Life's a bit different when you're out there. I mean, I like people, so you know, when I'm in a town or a city, I'm okay with that. It's also nice to be away for a bit. I think your values maybe change, not your values entirely, but you know, what matters to you, I guess, change a little bit. It's pretty simple out there. I mean, people ask me what I do for fun. I'm lucky in that my job's is my fun, and you know, it's daylight during the summer. It's daylight all the time. So you go, you work, and your work is your fun. Some of the relationships out there, actually, I was doing my fourth year, and that was something actually that I sort of put my finger on. It was actually, you know, seeing these people, the people I've got to meet too. It's you know, far beyond, you know, anyone I'd really have met had I not, you know, gone anywhere just by myself. You have people from all walks of life. Best part of the Yukon, okay, it's Dawson City. Everyone should go visit Dawson City. but I don't know. There's so many good things. That's a hard. I'm jumping around on my words here. It's tough to answer, but things are the simplicity I like of it, and that you eat, you sleep, you work and you laugh, and that is what sustains you for a while. We were on I got to actually manage a trenching program this year, and that was a pretty cool experience. I was a month out at camp with, the only time I had was designated to running this project, because new to it and you want to do a good job, and you're busy. And we got to every day we sort of wanted to work for each other, and sort of whatever your job is, people out there, they work hard and they enjoy themselves, and they're sort of at peace with it, and we work for each other. So it was the first time you talk about being on a team, and the value in that, and I recently sort of got to understand sort of what that feels like, kind of big time with this program. So don't know if I've answered your question. There's too many things I like about it.
I'm so jealous from all of that description. That sounds amazing. Now I want to go to the Yukon, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, imagine it's so beautiful up there too. Like, you must get northern lights, and I think you told me that you take a helicopter to work and stuff, right?
Yeah. A lot of it. Fall prospecting's fun, but what we do is we jump in a helicopter, and then we go to a usually a predetermined location. Like, you plan a route, for instance. We see some anomalies here in the maybe in the geophysics, or in the soils, or in the probe, and we go and check that out. So it's pretty cool, the wildlife you get to see. There's a sense of ownership, I get. Like, you feel like it's yours, but not a possessive ownership, more like you just feel you're a part of it, and everyone there sort of belongs. And I could talk your ear off on the great things. The Dawson City's amazing. The people you meet there, the bars, it's a fascinating place with a rich history. And if you stay till August, you get to see the Northern Lights. So and those can be pretty spectacular.
Would you say this is like for everyone? Like, anyone should go see it, or do you need to have like a certain type of personality and like to be able to respect it and accept this fully?
Oh, anyone would. I wouldn't say that I'm special for respecting it or anything like that. Anyone would. I think you see photos and you want to go places. Absolutely. It's just a matter of how long you want to stay. So I'm a personality. I'm able to shut certain things off and just get right stuck in doing it. But everyone's threshold of comfort is different. So I can some people have never been camping. So throwing them out in the bush in a helicopter and then going and setting up camp, that would be pretty insane. But there's that doesn't have to be your experience. It could just be going and visiting. But it's just this big wide open place, with some incredible views, and just there's a serenity to it. It's pretty neat. I don't know how many people have put it into words what it means to them, but I think I'm trying to get there.
So it sounds like from your master's that you have a really large travel component associated with the work that you do. So now with COVID, has anything changed with your master's work?
No, I mean, I probably won't be going to any conferences. I worked there this past summer. I got to, also collect a couple more samples that I needed. I tried to front load everything before my master's started with my collection, albeit I had no idea what how do you know, it's like not knowing what question to ask, that thing. So I got to go back and do that, but that was I was already employed, so that was pretty useful. It would have been more of a challenge to get out there. I actually drove. I always wanted to do the drive, so I drove from London to Calgary to the Yukon and back. Stopped through Vancouver to see some friends as well, but that was fine. I got to go to some conferences last year, but the travel component was great in that it tied together with helicopter time with work, and I was the sort of lead core logger on the Vertigo diamond drilling program in 2019, 2018, whatever the years are. So no, I got pretty lucky there, and yeah, got to go to Roundup in Vancouver in December, I think, and then I got to go to PDAC in March. We actually won a poster award for my for my project, which was pretty fascinating. For me, it was probably the best day of my life. I also got COVID the same day, so it's a pretty funny one. But yeah, that was you know, I speak on having failed calculus and, you know, struggled with science. I never thought I'd do a master's. It only sort of, you know, the master's was an outgrowth of sort of you know, my when I work, like I guess what I showed when I work. Got the passion, and I can, you know, all that a job is doing what you're asked and making your boss's life easier. I don't think you have to be particularly, you know, brilliant to figure that out. But you know, the company guys, they had confidence in me. That gave me confidence and Neil Banerjee, he agreed to bring me on to do a master's. So all of a sudden I'm here at Western last year, and I'm like, you know, it's another, you know, big blessing there. Getting to do that, you know, if you have that excitement, you're a bit uncertain, it drives you. And I had a phenomenal sort of first 6 months of figuring everything out. But I wasn't looking around at anyone else. I was sort of focused on my own thing, because the idea of comparing myself to someone else was probably pretty crippling, because, you know, like, oh man, we've got some smart cookies in here. And then what happened was I had put together this product for the company, and I presented at PDAC. I didn't know you got judged on it at PDAC, and you know, so I'm giving the presentation. But I think by the time one of the adjudicators came around, I was in a good rhythm, and someone was asking the right questions. And the thing was, I knew my project. You know, I didn't go too crazy in detail, but I think they could tell that I'd been there, and I was able to, you know, tie together the story, and also showing that passion. And that's all good. I've always been told I got a lot of passion and a good attitude, and that's hugely important. What got me in receiving an award for that poster was it was kind of the first big time that my effort translated academically. So I was pretty emotional. You know, not good to rub your eyes when you've been touching everyone's germs. And I say ugly crying myself to sleep is probably what the nail in the coffin on giving me the virus. But yeah, I don't know how we got there, but that was the last travel I did was PDAC.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Man, I love how honest you are about, like, you're not just like hyping yourself up about, oh, masters is so good, it's so easy, it comes so easy. I like how you're actually talking about all the struggles you've had and how difficult it is to get there. Like, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, yeah, it's always fun looking back. It usually comes down to, well, once you understand something, it's a lot less complex, right? So you probably want to tell yourself, you know, it's pretty simple, and you know, but that comes with you know, going through it. So, you know, because now things are more simple, I you know, I'll spend less energy certain areas that maybe now I think is, you know, wow, that's minutia, or that's tedious, you know, but I've already spent that time. So I don't know how interested I am in talking to myself in the past, but I guess I understand. I understand the question. Not just
okay, other grad students that are starting their masters.
Yeah, you can do it. You don't have to be too special. You focus on your thing, I guess. You know, it might surprise you, but you know, we all have, you know, certain insecurities, for sure, with whatever they are. Mine were always, you know, grades or whatnot, and you know, focus on your strengths, but do spend the time, and sometimes that effort, you know, really does translate. Yeah, but talking the biggest thing, you know, tough one, but
Stumped you.
yeah, like, you know, stay grateful for the opportunity, but also recognize, okay, what am I doing for you, and where am I going to focus this energy? Actually, that's my biggest thing right now is, you know, I've got all this energy, you know, but am I doing this all for who? And you know, being a bit more selfish with some things, and thinking about what am I going to get out of this is actually and that might not be the case for everyone. Could be the complete opposite, you know, be less selfish. But for me, it's, yeah, looking out for yourself in any situation. You know, what are you going to learn from it, and how are you going to grow as a person or a academic or professional from that? But look out for yourself, because, you know, no one else has your best interest in mind other than you. There we go. I got to it. Yeah.
All right, James.
That's what it is.
Well, what are you getting out of this, James? Out of this master's?
Well, I wake up, I go, and I have a lot of fun. I'm sustaining my interest right now. You know, I'm doing something that I enjoy and that I feel matters. And, you know, it's, you know, I don't put too much, you know, credence on the product. The product matters, but it is wholly the process. The things I've learned just with, you know, dealing with people and, you know, getting through difficult situations. That's what I'm getting, like the actual life skills. It's not entirely about the, you know, the specifics of the project or the end result. It's your journey. There's a reason they're saying for things. It's cheesy, but there you go. That's sorry.
I love it.
So James, you talked about your past self, you talked about your present self, and now I'm going to ask you about your future self. So how do you see, after you complete your master's, how do you see yourself moving into the workforce with your master's in hand?
Oh, that's interesting. So we got 1 minute here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to some people, it's a title. You get your piece of paper and you move on, because, you know, geology can be fairly old school. It's essentially, yeah, what I've learned and the confidence gained from that, and that self-belief. I've never had so much self-belief than I do right now. So you know, I can go on a job interview or go to someone, and I can actually believe that, like, they want me to work with them. And that's a pretty cool feeling. And I've gotten that from doing this and from working in the summer, and seeing myself in a, you know, a managerial role as well as the student. Yeah, you know, anywhere I go is, you know, it's a cool thing. And I don't think it's too, you know, out of the ordinary to think, but you should put yourself in that light that, you know, I can do this and you do want me to work for you.
Thank you so much, James. This episode's been great. It was lovely to have you. This has been GradCast, the official radio show and podcast of the Society of Graduate Students at Western University. I've been your host, Nikol, and I've been hosting with Viki. This episode's produced by Ariel, and our lovely guest today was James Alexander. James, if you have any shout outs or any social media that you'd like to promote, or any websites or anything, where would people find you?
Oh, well, definitely look up White Gold Corp. Just online there. It's a pretty awesome page, just to sort of get an eye on what we're doing out there. Yeah, they got a pretty good social media on LinkedIn as well. Anything White Gold Corp. Myself, my Instagram handle is James Alexander 95, and it's get a couple of cool photos of the Yukon that I've thrown out there. So if you're interested, yeah, you can have a look at some pretty awesome scenery. But yeah.
Perfect. And for the rest of you out there listening, if you'd like to get involved with the show or get in contact with us, you can email us at gradcastradio@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at GradCastRadio. To listen to us, we're on the radio, Western 94.9 FM. And you can also find our episodes on the website at GradCast, or on podcast apps such as Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Alternatively, there's podcasts available on YouTube as well at GradCast Radio. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Have a great night.